Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the content reveal that just dropped for PoE2. Now, you guys know that I have a little bit of a weird relationship with PoE2 right now. I decently enjoyed 0.1. 0.2 was really not for me, and I've heard there were a lot of updates since then that they kind of released once everybody already started playing, unfortunately, but there's a lot of small patches in between. But now we have the big reveal for 0.3, and I gotta say I'm pretty positive about it. And my positivity has nothing to do with like the game itself, with like Endgame, which they haven't touched as much I would have liked to, or with balancing or whatever, or getting a new class, which we didn't. But it has more to do with structural changes. Them acknowledging that trade was a problem, them acknowledging that speed was a problem, all the things that you would get gaslit on the internet about, right? Depending on which subreddit you go to. But turns out, yeah, we're gonna have asynchronous trading, or if you don't know what that means, you're offline, people can still buy stuff from you. So you're gonna be able to convert your premium stash tabs into these new stash tabs where you can then put stuff in and people can just come to your hideout and purchase it. And there is actually a button on the trade website that you just press and you automatically get ported to their hideout in that inventory. Now, people are pointing out that this is the end of price fixing, for example. If everybody changes to this new system, then you can't, I don't know, put something in for cheap and then never sell it because people can just insta-buy it. But it comes with its new flaws and problems, this new system, right? Like, for example, if you misprice something, somebody can instantly snipe it. There's going to be like a little cooldown there. Or, yeah, bots are going to be the ones to first buy mispriced items. So you're still going to have that stuff. Obviously, gold is still a little bit of a thing where they have to, for example, do gold carries or whatever these bots do. I have no idea. But they have to first get gold to actually purchase stuff. How is it going to go when several people at the same time port into your hideout, right? Is that going to have issues? What if like there's 10 minion players and all their minions are loading in at the same time? It's going to be chaos, but you know what? I don't really care. I think this is something that has to happen eventually. Better rip the band-aid off right now and then address issues one after the other. As you guys know, I like to play Torchlight Infinite in my PoE off time, and I gotta say, offline trading is just, I mean, I don't think I have to explain it, right? Like, it's just so comfy. You wake up and there is like, I don't know, 60 divines in your window or whatever. It just is very fun, right? In theory. And there's gonna be a ton of issues. I think this league is gonna be a shit show, but I applaud them for anything that they have taken the step after, I don't know how many years of basically saying that they're strictly against it. And even if you hate PoE2, there's good news because this is also coming to PoE1. With that out of the way though, let's go into something very PoE2 centric, and that is them addressing speed. Now, they are introducing sprinting, which is basically you press on the dodge roll and you keep dodge roll pressed and you will have better out of combat speed. How much exactly, we don't know. People have been guessing around about 30 to 40% more movement speed, but it's kind of hard to say because we don't know how much movement speed the characters in the videos already have. It's kind of hard to guess, but maybe somebody's going to do a frame-by-frame analysis. That would be kind of fun. But either way, it looked a lot nicer and more stomachable, but there is a few downsides. For any build that didn't use dodge before, which was surprisingly a lot of them, because dodge does make you faster, right? And not everybody was using blink. I know most builds, but not everybody was using blink. For those builds, you now have an extra button to press, right? If you want to sprint out of combat. But the bigger thing is, one of the downsides of sprinting is if you get hit while sprinting, you're going to get knocked down for like, I think it was 3 seconds or something. And yeah, basically just get stunned. And that is similar to when you are on the Roa. So I don't know how this is going to work out, but you can get out of sprint with an attack. So their thought is you're going to engage, and then before they can hit you, you're basically already doing your attack, and then you're already considered out of sprint. I'm not really sure how this is going to feel. Personally, I know that giving us more movement speed would have been the more elegant solution, but I think the reason they had to do this was all their bosses are balanced around you being slow, right? If they had to rebalance every single boss and give them like cast speed and extra attack speed so you can't just walk out of everything, that would have been, that's a big rework, right? So I think sprinting is a logical solution to this. I still would like some of the layouts to get reworked. I don't think this is going to really help in the long term. I think they're going to have to, once again, rip the band-aid off there. You can't have all these like waypoints everywhere. I think that's going to happen eventually. I think sprinting is a good thing for now and a good band-aid, but at some point, yeah. The third thing, there are no more support gem restrictions. You can now use as many of one support gem as you want. In theory, I like the idea of the restriction because it makes you think about like where you use what, right? And it's like opportunity cost. So why didn't it work out? Well, it's because they want you to press several buttons, right? And the problem is if you use all your best supports on your first skill, well, you're just going to press that skill because the next skill is going to do like no damage if you're adding another skill. So it was kind of awkward in that sense. It just didn't fit into PoE2. Funnily enough, it would have actually fitted more into PoE1. I think the system could have worked if they threw out like 1,000 support gems or something, but the truth is 80% of their support gems right now are utter trash, like absolutely unusable. Nobody will ever use them, ever. So there is like really a pool of like 60 to 100 that we have right now. And yeah, that's not enough support gems to actually... I mean, you guys have played PoE2 before. There's like... You don't need 6 links on everything because there's just not enough support gems. Now, I want you to understand what a big deal this is in terms of power creep. This will mean that you can actually use almost any of your 6 links. Right now, there isn't really enough for all your auras, I think, but for anything else, even like support skills, you're now going to have a very competitive 6 link in endgame. And they're also making it easier with the orbs. We're going to talk about that in a second, but that is a huge change, and I think the game is going to be a ton of easier because of that. Speaking about the game becoming easier though, there's new crafting orbs, they reworked essences. I'm not going to go into detail right here, but there's, for example, now different tiers of transmutes, different tiers of augs, different tiers of exalteds, that basically, for example, a perfect exalted orb guarantees a high tier modifier that you slam on. The Hinekora's Lock makes a comeback. There's a new omen that you can use with a divine orb where you actually divine over maximum of the tier. It's pretty crazy. And all of this to say that crafting is getting more and more fleshed out, which I think is still going to take a while. But there's going to be more hype items on the ground now. They also added quality, so you can now get up to 30 quality on base items. So picking up base items is going to be more interesting. So I think the loot in general is just going to be a lot nicer, right? You have more tinks. A ton of these items are going to be like 20 plus divines, and if you find them, there you go. And having more of these chase currencies is something I was really looking forward to, because other than divine orbs and like occasional other stuff, it was mostly just picking up items and then hoping on the slam, or certain normal items that people chanced into. It wasn't very diverse. Now, obviously, if you're doing special things, but I'm talking about just mapping. We also have new supports, which are the Lineage Supports, and these can only be used once per character. As far as I understand, you can have multiple Lineage Supports, but you can't just spam the same Lineage Supports over and over. But they are extremely, extremely powerful. They will be like unique items, and they will literally warp your build. There is a few ones for crossbows I already have in my eyes. There's like a Spell Echo one. They are, yeah, ridiculously powerful versions of support gems, but they're drop only. There's also one that is basically Enlighten on steroids, although they've said they are rare, so I wouldn't really plan my league starter around that if I were you. Now, then we had evasion buffs, which is quite interesting because they said that evasion is the worst the defense, which already made me prepare for what was about to happen to armor, which is not all that much. So the funny part is evasion got buffed more than armor. Evasion now has basically spell suppression, but for everything, but it's only 40%. And we don't know all the nodes on the tree. They showed a few, but from what I understand, it's also Deflect is the name. It's also accessible for armor, for example. There's a new Tactician node that makes it so I think you get 20% of your armor as Deflect. We don't know exactly how it works, but prepare yourself for another defensive layer for evasion builds. And I mean, you can still mix and match it with Energy Shield to kind of not have the downside of having a low HP pool. So yeah, everything in the Monk area, everything in the Ranger area pathing up to some ES nodes is still going to be exceptionally broken. We don't know all the details about how ES is going to get changed, but they said they hate that it's easy to recover ES right now. They're fine with giving you a big pool, but it has to be a pain to recover, and they want Energy Shield recharge to be the main way, which I think is an interesting change. For armor, they have said that they now have a stat that gives you a percentage of armor, also counts for elemental damage, but the problem is that that basically gets calculated before resistances, which means that, yeah, it's not very helpful. If you want to check out Kriparian's videos, he made extensive videos about this topic, and I'm sure they know about this, but yeah, I don't know if that's really going to move the needle, because that's still an affix you have to get on items. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, truly, that this is going to change the game, but there was already a chest that did that. There was a chest that made it, so armor also counts for elemental damage, and I tried it and it was absolutely abysmal because of that resistance thing. It also doesn't really address the issues of big hits that armor has with usually armor getting paired with life builds, which have a lower pool than ES and getting one shot easier. So it's kind of like a double whammy. I think they should give us a little bit more access to max resistances on the tree. I think that would stem a lot of the bleeding for armor-centric builds. I think they will eventually give armor a little bit of love, but I don't think this will be the patch for it. Now, they didn't add a new class or ascendancy, but there is extensive ascendancy changes. Overall, I feel like they are very positive. You can check them out in the patch notes yourself. I think that the demon form change, for example, is quite interesting, where it doesn't give you +2 levels anymore, but it instead now grants you more spell damage, but it allows you now to have both main hand and offhand. So that's quite interesting. It's more of like a little bit of a buff instead of a complete game changer. Probably easier to balance that way. There's now actually unarmed support. There's uniques. There's a new keystone. Possibly this is going to be the patch where you're going to start being unarmed. I'm not sure. Maybe they just sprinkle it in and then add more over time. We had a totem rework, which basically totems used to only work with your skill levels. They did not work with your main hand. And now they actually take your weapon damage, just like in PoE 1, which means that they will less fill the role of being a build around and more of like a support for normal builds, which means we're probably not going to see a lot of like totem builds. They're more just going to be single target thing or like something you put down maybe while clearing here or there, which I'm fine with. We'll have to see how it plays out, but in general, I like it. Now, notably absent are the endgame changes. There are certain things, like there's extra bosses that you can now encounter while playing, but towers are still a thing. Jonathan did acknowledge this in the Q&A though. A lot of people missed that because they dipped out and now they're like kind of mad, but they acknowledged the issues and they said next patch is going to be an endgame centric patch, but they had to fix a lot of other stuff before that, so that's cool. I gotta say though, essences are looking a lot juicier now. I haven't really gone over them, but they're basically now guarantee a mod, kind of like in PoE 1, and they seem quite strong. So there's going to be a lot more demand for those. So for endgame, that means if you, for example, just want to rush through maps and do the essence and dip, and meanwhile, I don't know, like progress, and if you see a boss, you get the fragment, right? Like kind of out and go. I think that's going to be a lot more viable instead of just having to search for that triple overlapping tower like it used to be last patch. You now have 2 sets of guardians that you can find, and those fragments are going to sell for quite a bit, especially if the uniques that they drop are chase items. So I think there's going to be new playstyles, and you don't just have to do that. And if you happen to find a 3 tower on the way, that's also going to be nice. In general, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it's going to be that much better, but yeah, all the other changes, trading, sprinting, very appreciated. With that said though, these are just the changes off the top of my head. The reveal went on until 1 in the morning for me, and it was like over 3 hours, which I appreciate. The Q&A was awesome. A lot of the things that Jonathan acknowledged, I wasn't really sure if it came across them, but it definitely did. He made it very clear. And yeah, I'm going to be playing Last Epoch for the next 3 days or so. The release of the new patch is tomorrow, patch 1.3. So I will be playing that for a bit. If you want to have a starter, I put out a Beastmaster guide. If you want to jump into the game, if you've never played it before, it's probably a good time for that. But after that, I'm in full PoE 2 mode, so don't be discouraged if I'm posting 1 or 2 updates for Last Epoch. I'm fully all in. I'm going to actually try and get into the game. As you guys know, Exile 2 and me, it's been a little bit rough, and I really want to just absolutely engulf myself, learn the game to the max. My knowledge right now is I think pretty linear. I would like to play more archetypes, and if I enjoy the game, that's going to be really fun. With that said though, as always, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.